Hello. Hello, everyone. Um, are you able to hear me? Is the sound good? Type yes in the chat if you're able to hear me. Everything's good. Applause. I see applause. I can hear you. Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you for the confirmation and validation. Okay, welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. This is the second installment of Sepia Collective's Reading the City. This one is Compton Artists on Art, focused on the work and careers of three trailblazing visual artists and makers. My name is Janice Miller. I am a writer and urban planner here in Compton and co-producer of the Reading the City series, along with Sepia Collective's creative director, Rosalind McGary, who serves as one of our panelists here today. We are broadcasting from the original home and land of the Tongva people. We take a moment to honor them, as well as we want to give honor to several specific artists and cultural workers whose work and legacy make our work possible. And they are Judson Powell, John Otterbridge, Elliot Pinckney, and Darlene Dickson. We honor them for serving as inspirations to all of us here today. Okay. Sepia Collective's Compton Arts Project offers panels, workshops, and public art activations that center Compton and South LA artists and seeks to highlight Compton's cultural impact. Reading the City is the first endeavor of the Compton Arts Project and the first of a series of roundtables featuring artists of different disciplines with connections to Compton. For more information about Sepia and the artists featured today, you can click on one of the buttons below, which says learn more about these artists. And then below that, it says ask a question, and that's where you can enter questions for the Q&A portion of the event, which will be a little bit later. All right. So today, three prolific artists have joined us: Kaya Fortune, Rosalind McGary, and Charles Dickson, who will be with us shortly. Each of them have decades-long careers and connections to Compton. And here is just a little bit about them. Kaya Fortune. Kaya Fortune is a co-founder of Neo Dandy Art Collective, founder and designer of Afro Blue Design, co-founder and artistic director of Hood Games / Town Park, co-founder of Soul Salon 10 Art Collective, and curriculum coordinator of Youth Art Alliance in Oakland. He holds a BA from UCLA in Fine Art and Anthropology, and through his work, Kaya examines the artistic and cultural roots of the African diaspora and its influence on cultures around the world. And he is from Compton. I added that part, but I know. Represents. Rosalind McGary has been a working artist for over 25 years. Along with painting, she is dedicated to creating opportunities for artists' engagement in our communities. She is founder of Los Angeles-based Sepia Artists Collective, through which she has produced iconic Black Panther and the Compton Arts Project, and founder of Cake Cutter Institute, an arts nonprofit that centers artists of color, whose mission is to explore ways in which the arts can improve the quality of living for all people. Rosalind is a founding member of Soul Salon 10 Artists Collective. Her practice has always been a celebration of survival, how beauty exists and persists despite all efforts to invalidate it. She lives and works in Compton, California. Charles Dickson is a Compton-based master sculptor, teacher, and caretaker of the historic Watts Towers, who has created unique small to large scale sculptures honoring Black culture in Los Angeles since the Black arts movement of the 1960s. He was a founding member of the Compton Communicative Arts Academy. Over the last 50 years, Charles Dickson has taught and mentored artists in South Los Angeles, has shown in museums and galleries throughout the world. His work has been commissioned for public installations, too numerous to name, and he has exhibited in over 150 shows and received commendations from local governments and organizations. He continues to work and teach in Compton, California. So we will start the program with a bit of an online exhibition in which each of our artists today will go through slides of their work. Okay, bear with me 1 second while I share my screen.
And I just want to say we're gonna try to keep it at 2 minutes per slide, as long-winded as we can get. We're gonna try.
Okay, I'm going to run through the slides. Kaya, we have you first. So just let me know when you want to go to the next slide, okay?
Okay, for sure.
Okay, Kaya, are you able to see the slide?
I can see it, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a little small though.
It is very small.
Is it? Okay.
Can I hit full screen?
It looks like you have to push play.
Okay, give me a second here, because I'm seeing something different on my screen. All right, let me. Okay, let me try sharing it again. Okay, I'm going to pull up the PDF. Um, let's see if that shows bigger. Is it larger now?
Larger. That's better, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's the first slide. Okay, so this is the first slide of the work, and my work is reflective of, I was lived in Compton. The only access I really had to, in a lot of cases, to be connected to the rest of the world was again going to the library, Compton Library right across the street. So that was one of my ideas. A lot of my work reflects the African diaspora, and in particular, reconnecting us with our history, which has been lost in a lot of cases. And so, a lot of my work, both of these pieces, one is called at the Crossroads, and the other one is the Banji twins is the one I want to focus on. And talking about, African culture and connecting African culture to our pieces here. I use a lot of layers. I like layers in reference to our history and our culture. And so the two Ibanki figures are sort of iconic in African culture. So I wanted to make sure that I created images that were iconic and allows the viewer to not only see the image itself, but to look in depth about the image itself. And spray paint is another element that I really liked, that I wanted to keep in my piece work. Um, the next of it is also the same idea of spray painting, talking about voodoo, talking about Ogun, the different spirits that we need to attach ourselves to if we don't know about them historically, and merge those concepts with merge with Christianity. So in this point, I wanted to merge those ideas in the form of spray paint, and I use a lot of stencils. Go to the next slide, please. So I do a variety of work from painting, mixed media, sculpture. I kind of do a little bit of everything. I sort of got those influences and ideas from being around artists in Compton and being a young artist at the Communicative Art Academy in Compton. When I met John Otterbridge and Charles Dickson and many other prominent artists who, supported me and gave me the sort of permission to discover myself. Um, and so this one, blue piece is called Avant-Garde. I like to use a lot of African shapes and movement. So the avant-garde is us being able to take something and create improvisation in our lives and be able to create our own direction. So these pieces are based on also, you see a series of album covers, three album covers. I sometimes use the concept of threes, the concept of Trinity. And so each one of these album covers are addressing also different types of deities in African culture. Due to the colors, some of them have bebes, which is in Voodoo culture, bebes are ground inscriptions and designs that talk about different deities and talk about different directions we need to take in our lives. The following one is called Tracing Our Footsteps, and it's in black and white. And I lived in Crenshaw District. I lived in Compton. I lived all over at one time. Tracing My Footsteps is going back to those things that I was really making me proud to be who I am as an African person uh, in this world. So Soul Train was very important. I have the pinwheel, which is related to the quilting that brothers and sisters did. The quilting was important. Marvin Gaye, who lived not far from me when I was in LA. So these sort of influence, let's get it on. Uh, so I have the bell to summon the spirits. I have Shango's up there. I even wanted to have a contemporary influence by having 40 water. So I live in the Bay Area now, so I wanted to kind of connect that 40 water with E40 and 40 water, which is associated to me with with holy water, right? And then also we have the steps. So the steps that we have to retrace our steps is to redefine ourselves through our history, right? And looking at that history and going and allowing us to support us to go forward. Okay. Next slide, please. So this is my mixed media stuff, and these are assemblage sculptures, which I was influenced heavily by John Otterbridge when I saw his stuff when I was very young, and Noah Pilford. Um, I was very young and I seen this stuff. Also, Justin Powell. I was around in my teens and in college. So these are two pieces. One piece is called Grandma West, and this is a tribute to my grandmother, who was a religious woman. And so I use a tambourine as a symbolic object to summon the spirits, those past, present, and future. And the black and white is symbol of this of spirit. So most cultures you see black and white, that's sort of its ideas and also associated with fetish. And then the broom itself. The broom is how we are sweeping our cultures and putting our cultures together, right? And then also how people sweep things under the rug. So we have to understand that people have swept our culture and history under the rug. So we have to reveal that. So I use that as part of my grandmother's history of being from Arkansas and having to go through lots of things. And someone who passed away at 43 years old because she worked in a place in which they didn't have enough ventilation, and I don't think they really cared. And so she died of respiration disorder very early in her life. So I wanted to attribute that to her, this piece to her in her life. The other one is called, I got two, it's called, the one at the very top is called Revolution of the Mind. This Revolution of the Mind is really a tribute to and dedicated to John Otterbridge, who just passed away. And he was a person, him and Charles Dickson, they were people who really allowed me to find myself, you know. They had I used to go to Charles Dickson's house all the time when I was a kid, and he would just let me find things to do and discover myself. And so that piece is a tribute to John Otterbridge. It has an X with two knives in it. On the end of the two knives are different deities and spirits associated with it. In the very center, there's a circle. So it's called the Wheel of Life in the very center. And since John Otterbridge is so giving, he was always giving fish and allowing this, you know, he was a fisherman who always gave fish to his community to make sure that his community was strong and vibrant. At the very bottom, this is called a mothership. And this is dedicated to my family. I know this photograph doesn't do service, but this is dedicated to my family and the trials and tribulations they had to go through in the Atlantic slave trade and coming to America. And the bottom person in blue is myself. So I'm making sure that I am anointed in the spirit world by your head and your feet. In this case, I am carrying my family on my head. Yeah. Okay. The next slide, please. This is what I started off when I first met John Otterbridge, and I first met everybody used to be at the Communicative Arts Academy. I mean, when I first met them, I was doing collages, and I would basically go to the library. They didn't have that many art books. Black Art on Art was the only book that you can actually check out at that time. So I would just Xerox all the pages and cut them up and collage them and create this idea of a reflection of who I was, because I only had one book at that time. And that was by Ruth Waddy and Samela Lewis. And so this piece is actually two sisters who are being baptized, you know, and baptism takes on different sort of ideologies and different cultures. But this baptism for me is baptizing yourself and transitioning and being reckoning with who you are as a person, right? And it doesn't have to have physical water, right? We create our own water, we create our own environment and place. And so I wanted to put the sisters in that place. And then I always use collages at the time that I'm collecting things. So I have my grandfathers in there, Willie Johnson. And then I have, it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but I have my mother and my aunts and the whole thing. I have this piece that's dealing with the civil rights movement down there. Yimanya is her spirit is there. She's in the bird, number 7, that's her number. And then Amir Baraka is at the very bottom, kind of etched out in stencil style. And so these pieces itself is like the wall. I call them the walls are talking, right? And to the next one was called breakbeat. And breakbeat is the idea is that when we create our rhythm in life, that we break a beat means we take a pause for a moment. We take that pause for a moment to create another beat and create more beats. And these beats will create the different types of history and the consciousness of who we are as African people. So that's why on the collage you might see I collect flyers, I'll collect things off of billboards, whatever I see that I like that's connected to what I want to do. So I use a lots of different types of elements to express that. At the very bottom, I'm really proud that I actually put on some of my students that are at the very bottom who are prolific artists now in the world. And Dick Gregory was my favorite guy. So, you know what I mean? I love Dick Gregory. He kept it real all the time. And so I just used other elements. And the very right, to my right, I guess, is Amir Baraka, who was one of my favorite poets of all times. So I wanted to always add my people. And when you add people back to these pieces, my collage pieces, you keep them alive, right? And in Western culture, we always talk about death and dying, but I don't like to use that. I like to use the word transition. If we use any term as transition, but I want to keep my people alive by creating these other pieces of work that bring their images alive and keep them, like Bob Marley says, ever living and everlasting. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is one more collage. On this piece right here, this is guys, it's called Uncle Boom, and I didn't know my father very well, so a lot of times when I'm using these images, I am channeling my father, who I didn't know as a male figure, into these characters, and surrounding all those experiences that I've had um, outside of him, right, and not knowing him. So the character itself in the very middle is like a grandfather figure, and it's to be an African fetish. That's why a lot of times the faces are white, and people get confused on this. Not trying to be a white person, right? You're trying to be like an African fetish, right? Well, this is a sculpture in African culture that warns away evil spirits, basically, right? So my character's here to ward away negativity, okay? And I added some other things. I have my mother in there. I have at the very top, I have Waddy, Lewis, Dixon, and Outerbridge. So some people I was very much influenced by. And I like to use record albums as a idea of the soundtrack of our lives, the soundtrack of things that we've experienced. And I got Brother James Brown down there. Sometimes for me, images, don't do anything to the images. They're strong enough in their own body. So sometimes I just leave the images alone. And once again, some more collage work, kind of defining who we are as African people. And that's pretty much for the presentation. I think that's it. Is there any other? That's the last one, I think. Is that's the last one? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Rosalind, I'm gonna pull yours next, so I'm gonna advance to yours.
Okay. And if anyone has any questions for Kaya, you can click that button at the bottom, ask a question.
So, somebody have a question? Shoot, go for it.
We'll save the questions and ask them. Oh, well, you know what? I'll make some time. Denise, do
Okay.
you want to? Oh, we're there. Up to you, our moderator. You ready? Oop.
Okay. I think we should go to you next because the way the
Okay.
share my screen is working, every time you see it small, is I have to go back to the crowdcast screen. So it'll be easier if you just go go through all of them right now. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And please type in your questions in the ask a question box, and we will get to those at a later time. Thank you.
Okay. Is that as large as it can go? Whoa. Oh, there it is. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So, oh, it's a little coming in. Okay, so these two pieces, I put these two pieces first because they're really telling pieces, and I wanted to kind of pay my nod and respect to Soul Salon 10. I did these pieces when I lived in Oakland. I was a member of the artist collective Soul Salon 10. And these pieces were for a show called Civil Rights and Lefts. K-Dub, Keith Williams, who's from Long Beach, California, and studying under John Otter Bridge, asked me specifically to paint the 4 little girls who were murdered in the Birmingham bombings as if they had become women. And I meditated and prayed a long time about it because I didn't know how to affect that. And, you know, I studied about those little girls, and there's not many bios on young people when they pass young. So what I kept coming up with when I meditated was fours. And so I settled on the elements: air, earth, fire, and water. And these two pieces, there's 4 pieces, but these 2 pieces, fire represents the revolutionary and the mother, protector, fighter. And air is kind of the mystery and the allure of femininity, but also the unknown when we lose someone too young. And so what I came to with these pieces was we are what they would have become. We all are. We all carry forward what we lose. And so that's why I did these 2 pieces. Next slide. Okay. Is anyone else, is it blurry to anyone else? Or just me? Okay. So these 2 pieces kind of show my obsession with detail and pattern. The piece on the left is called Late Bloomer, and my work is autobiographical a lot of the time. And so this particular piece, Late Bloomer, I was painting in 2007, hoping that I was a late bloomer and that I would see better days. But this showcases the beadwork, the individual beads of paint that I use often in my work to build patterns. They started as geometrical shapes and evolved into floral and botanical patterns, which I'm just drawn to. So that's a good example of that. And then the piece on the right is called 5 Steps to Sainthood. At this point in my life, I was grappling with hurt and forgiveness. And I was also starting to kind of build and develop in my own mind and heart, my own saints, what I felt sainthood meant. And so this particular piece is forgiveness. And it's also the second time that I started painting mosaics, which was right before I started actually working in mosaic. Next slide. Um, okay, so this piece is, the piece on the left is called I Am More. This piece was created in 2015 when I was in a residency at the Sheen Center in New York. And it kind of marks a turning point for me with my patterns, my floral patterns. I was, because I was at the Sheen Center, and the Sheen Center is owned by the Archdiocese, I was invited to do an exhibit there because I was working with my idea of sainthood and naming my own saints. And so I was incorporating illuminated manuscript from Ethiopian, texts. I was incorporating my floral patterns, but I was kind of loosing them, and in my mind, the flowers loosing themselves from the garments or wherever they are was like the power of the figure affecting her environment. Both of these pieces, the one on the right is called Sanctuary. And this is a photo of it in progress, but both of these pieces are also incorporated the words of the model. I always have my friends sit for me. So if you sit still long enough, I'll ask you to sit for me. You know that now, Janice. But in the first piece on the left, my friend Shonda sat for me for that piece. I told her what I wanted, but before we got started, she was talking to me, and one of the things she said was, "I'm so much more than this." She was moving into a different part of her life, and she said, "I'm so much more." And so I incorporated those words into the piece. The second piece, which is called Sanctuary, I don't know if you can see it, but my friend Jen and I were having a conversation, and while she was sitting for the piece, and we were talking about the ancestors, and she said something along the lines of, "Who will look out for us if we don't? Who will carry on our ancestors' dreams for us if we don't?" And so I wrote that into that piece. Next slide, please. Okay, carrying on with the saints. The piece on the left is really just so very important to me because I'm obsessed with Henrietta Lacks. And this is the first portrait that I did of Henrietta Lacks. This piece is on wood panel, and it's on several wood panels that come apart. So for me, Henrietta Lacks represents the Black body. She represents the diaspora, how we've been spread all over the world, the lack of reparations or respect for our body. I know, as you know, Henrietta Lacks, her cells are still used in all kinds of scientific experiments, and has helped with vaccinations, probably helped with these COVID vaccinations. And when I learned about her, right before the book about her came out, her body was in an unmarked grave. And her family hadn't been compensated at all for the trillions and trillions of times that her still living cells are used to save lives. And so for me, she is completely a saint. She's the definition of sainthood. I initially drew her as a nude, but when I did the residency in New York, I covered her breasts so that they wouldn't tell me, Archdiocese, so that they wouldn't tell me that she couldn't show, because I meant to ask them about the problem, and I did do that. And so the piece on the right is called Saint and Sunflowers, yet another Another example of me kind of choosing my own saints. Here, what makes her saintly is the patience with which she dreams and yearns for something. Next slide, please. I wanted to include a male piece because I do study the male figure as well. I think it's very powerful. This piece is called God Sleeps. It is an ink painting on paper, sumi ink on paper, and it's probably about 50 layers of just ink. I hope you guys can see that. And that's me. That's my work.
Okay. So I'm noticing, so just so the artists know and you all know, there's a slight delay. So when you say next slide, I am pressing to the next slide, but it's a delay. And thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for sharing your work. We do have Charles Dickson in the building, and another thing that I'm learning about Crowdcast. So here's what's going to have to happen. In order for me to bring him up, I have to send one of the current artists off. And that's just to be able to show the artwork, the pieces, as well as have the folks on who are talking about them. So once I stop screen sharing the pieces, we'll bring everybody back on and have a good conversation and get to a lot of these questions that I see you all are asking.
Okay.
Okay. All righty.
Oh, there I am. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So, why? Let me take a quick second to explain also. So, we want to give thanks and gratitude to Color Compton. Color Compton is a nonprofit organization in Compton that has, workspace here, and they've been providing a lot of art workshops for youth. And Abigail Lopez is the director of Color Compton, and she's assisting us today. So I'm not sure, but if you see under Charles's name, it might say Abigail Lopez instead of Charles Dickson. But he's here, and he can speak on his own. And so, Charles, I'm going to start pulling up your slide.
All right. Can you hear me?
And
Yeah.
They might be a little bit delayed that we've been experiencing as I just let next, and I hit next, and okay, Kaya can hear you as well.
Can you hear me though?
Okay.
You can hear me? Okay. Tell me when you want to. No. Nothing like tech talk.
Your presentation.
Okay. She can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Oh, okay. Good to be here. Right.
Okay, so you can just let me know.
Okay. I'm not, Janice, can you hear me? Yeah.
Okay, I can hear you,
Oh, good.
and what we're doing is, so I'm gonna have your images up on the screen, and
Okay.
you just talk about them,
Okay.
and
I
that's
didn't
what
know
the
if I
people are
was
here for.
okay.
And
Okay.
then when you're
So you
ready
want
to go to the next slide, just say next slide, and then I'll advance
okay,
it.
fine. I didn't know if I was hooked up and ready to go. I could tell you about Black is Beautiful straight up. Um,
Okay, we want to hear it.
Black is Beautiful is carving from ironwood. Early in when I was in high school, I got introduced to this material. Comes from the Hobby Desert. Very hard, very dense. Um, I was very excited about. I had chosen to work with the Black female form because I didn't see that form in any particular museum or anywhere. Um, and the uniqueness of the various body forms intrigued me. And also the collaboration with the material itself excited me in a way where I wanted to explore various techniques of removing the wood and also uh, carving something dense to make it look like it. I mean, to have the feeling of bronze or something like that. Ironwood does that. So Black is Beautiful was one of those pieces. Um, and it's one of the body forms. It's actually a combination of body forms. I'm working on a series called Sisters Body Spirits. I've been working on it for 50 years, in which I will produce life-size figures of various Black women that I have worked with for the last 50 years. In any case, but that's what Black is Beautiful about. And I wanted to, there's another thing too. As I was growing up, my mother always asked me to, well, Charles, you do a lot of nudes. And she says, you should put a plant in there or a flower or something like that. So I said, yeah, I put it next to a tree. I thought it was apropos, the natural nature of seeing the nude body in its own natural form next to nature is part of what just make the statement that God made no mistakes. Oh, oh, speak, speak. Oh, speak, speak was developed by John Otterbridge through Studio Watts, Jim Woods. Um, John asked me to participate, and it was a lot of fun. He worked in my studio, and at the time that the same studio that's over on Rosecrans. But John wanted other artists to participate in this endeavor, and this this piece represents the celebration of the land. At that time, there were a lot of burnt out areas in off 103rd, and Jim Woods had the audacity to erect a sculpture there. So he asked John Outerbridge to come up with a design. John invited Elliot Pinckney, Dale Davis, Nate Ferrance, and myself. And the beauty of this was, well, the beauty of it was that at the base of this piece, neither of us knew what was the color. Nate Ferrance was the painter, by the way, that painted the veil and the base of the sculpture. Nate was or is he worked with the automotive paints and what have you. But anyway, all that was covered while we were putting it all together. And when we uncovered it, the divine nature of the work, I was exactly where I should be. There was an actual root at the bottom of my piece, and it hung at the base. It went into a green section of that platform. John was working with various colors of black, and his was black, and Dale Davis was blue, and vice versa. So it was a beautiful opportunity that we had to do this work. And I was so impressed with John. John worked with the bandsaw a little bit, but John had a paintbrush and a tack hammer, and I had all these grinders and sanders and things like that. And I was still pecking on my piece when we were installing, but I learned a lot of patience and steadfast with that. Also, that particular piece historically was destroyed by the CIA. There was an operative that was in the Watts area that was brought in to disrupt the artistic integrity of the community. And the first thing that, D was the director of the Writers' Workshop. He brought this guy off the street. And this is documented. It took some years before it came out in the open. And in any case, so he burned down the Writers' Workshop. And then on the way out of town, he burned down Oh Speak Speak. So unfortunately, there was some mix up about who did what. But it took something like 20 years before it was released. Sad commentary, but it gives you an idea of how powerful art is in our community and in the world. And so these expressions that we provoke through our through being conduits is a very important part of establishing a dialogue and a understanding as to who we are and what our contribution can be, and not to forget. And I love your work, brother. I'm so proud of what you've done because you have not left out the spiritual nature of who we really are and what the dialogue is really about and how we can carry on the culture, not just through the objects. The objects bring us together, but the spirit gives us the foundation to go further and to teach our people truth and understanding and love for each other. We are in the process of building and linking together what was torn apart. This is what my understanding, and this is why I do what I do. I'm just trying to fill in the dots. And so to me, you've done a wonderful job of filling in the dots. And I'm so thankful that you were able to be so powerful and that we some kind of way we rub something off. And it's good.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, wonderful. I really love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And Ross too. it's, back in the day of the Communicative Arts Academy, all we were trying to do was pass on the gift. And we all have a creative self, and that self is important to the preservation of our culture. And we have to understand that it has to be supported. You know, it's great to eat hot dogs, but it's also great to support each other artistically. Artists have to eat too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm still on. In any case, let me run down my background since I'm on screen. I was carving wood at the age of 5, and I got inspired by a neighbor with a penknife, and am I still on?
Yes, on.
Okay. In any case,
Good.
yeah.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. While we transition, I was thinking maybe we could have a conversation between you and Kaya.
Oh, great.
Maybe
Yep.
ask
Be great.
questions about the Arts Academy. I know Kaya, you told me
I got lots of stories.
yes,
I got so many stories.
yeah, I'm trying to
I,
remember.
I want to start with this.
Oh yeah.
I want to start with the story that Charles may not have remembered because it's been such a long time. And so my first experience in ever being in the studio was coming to Charles's house on Saturday morning, sometimes Saturday, sometimes Friday evening. And my first experience at Charles's house was, I came in, I was about 13 or 14. Maybe I might have been a little younger. I think I was about that age. And my mom brought me to meet John Outerbridge at CCAC, and I was doing some stuff using recycled bones and wood and stuff like that. So, it was right up sort of the alley of what John Outerbridge was doing. And Charles, you remember that he had two totems outside of.
Yes.
You remember he had those two sculptural totems he had outside, and so I was a kid and I
Yeah.
walked by there and I saw that. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Somebody's doing some creative stuff. So once I did that, I met John first, and then I met Charles Dickson. I met you, Charles, and I came over your house. It must have been lots of times. I went over lots of times, and you told me when I came. You told me when I came in when I was a kid. I would say, "What I'm gonna do?" You say, "Just go find something to do. Go discover something. Discover who you." I know that's exactly what you told me. Because you said you was doing your work, you said, don't bother me. You just go find something. And you discover who you are. And
Yeah.
I swear to God, I've been taking
That
that.
sounds right.
Yeah, that's pretty much. And I've taken that with me of being around David. David was there. The Latino brother, David was there. And being around John. And
Oh yeah.
then discovering people who were there, like Benny Andrews. I mean, I knew Benny Andrews from CCAC. I didn't know how great Benny Andrews was until I took college courses, on Black artists. And so all the people that was there at CCAC inspired me. I mean, when we had that big show, I mean, Jacob Lawrence was there. We had like all sorts of people who came to that
Yeah.
show. And it was really, for me, eye-opening to see that even in the city of Compton, that even in a small place as it was, that the brothers there really allowed me to flourish and find my own voice, and knowing that I can be empowered no matter where I am in the universe.
That's
That's
right.
the most empowering thing for me, because everybody has so many different personalities. You
Right.
know what I mean? And that was beautiful for me to see. And also, when I used to walk past Elliot Pickney, he'd be doing murals. When I was even younger, I used to fill in some of the spots.
That's
He would be
great.
up on the ladder and nobody would be helping him. I'm saying, now this brother's gonna do this mural by himself.
Right.
All these black people in this neighborhood, he's not getting no support. So he used to let me fill in when I was young. And then I
Yeah.
got turned on to, hanging out with you guys. and coming to the studio, and I mean, just a light, you know what I mean? It's just a light came on, and
That's
everywhere I've
wonderful.
gone, I make sure that I, you know, spread the gospel about everybody in that time period.
That's it. That's
That
right.
was so important. You know what I mean? And I want to thank
Good.
you from the bottom of my heart. Bless, and bless to your wife. I want to bless her too. And I
Thank
was a
you.
kid, Charles. I mean, I was a real young kid, and I
Mm,
came to the studio. I have to tell this story. I came to the studio a lot, right? And so I
right.
would come to the studio, and most of the time when I came to the studio, nobody was there but just you. But one
Right.
day, Diane came in. She had all white on, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew that she was a forceful spirit, you know, because she was really peaceful and direct, you know, and
Mm.
regal and elegant. And also, I went to the wedding too. I went to your wedding.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I went to the
Oh
wedding.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
heavy, man. That's
I
right.
went to.
That's when she had her white gown. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. I went to the wedding. Yeah, I was
Wow.
15 or 16. I forgot how old we were, but I went to the wedding
Wow.
too. Yeah, yeah, man. So blessings on that.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife has transitioned.
Hmm.
We were together for 47 years. And you're right. She was a spiritual force and definitely contribute much to who I am today
Yes,
as
sir.
an artist. And she was a backbone.
Yep.
And we love to. I mean, I have pictures of the wedding, so I bet you have pictures of you standing around.
I'm around there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm happy that what you took away enabled you to ground yourself in your creative gift. And I love the way that you refer to spirit and the symbols you use in your work, and also referring to the mentors like Nora Purefoy and and Bridge and there was one other person that you mentioned that I hadn't heard that name in a
Justin
long
Pop,
time.
Justin.
Oh, Justin Powell. Oh, he was a force that introduced me to Noah, but I'm trying to think of the sister's name. She was a force in regards to pulling everyone politically together. Um,
Oh, Ruth Waddy.
Ruth Waddy. Oh
Because she
my
used to go
God.
to those dinners. Remember, she used to have those dinners at her house.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. She used to have
She
those dinners.
was she was a force and very creative person, but very loving and supporting. And at that time, she was doing much to hold me together as a creative person in the community. So um, there was so much that we were trying to do um, till we were just lost. I think I don't like to use the word lost, but each had their role to play,
Hmm.
and but we tried to include everybody. And that was one thing I used to always say, here, find something to do, go in the back and
Yeah,
pick up some wood, do something,
right.
figure it out.
Exactly. Figure. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah, that was my motto.
Right.
If you need some technical help, I'll try to help you there. But that's what it's based on. The technical thing is one thing, but
Right.
the spiritual, the conduit that we are, is where we're able to use those techniques as it pours out of us. So you're just right on track, and so you're sharing that. That's what it's all about, man. It's all about wonderful.
Okay, everybody. Look at me like, okay, there's a problem with the moderator's something. She cannot get back on.
Uh-oh.
So we're gonna have to kind of skip to um
Questions
the
and answers.
questions, and it's gonna be three of us, and I'm gonna be in here with Charles, if that's okay.
Sure,
Okay. Charles, you wanna
it's a big room.
yeah, but I have to share the laptop because
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, so I swing it around to you.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Tell me when. Why don't we just sit on the corner and get the piece of us together? Got it.
oh, okay.
So you kind of like
Yeah,
go over there.
we'll do it. We'll do it back and forth.
Yeah, we'll have to forget this. See, I could put on my mask and we could get
What?
close.
The Afrofuturist. I said Charles is Afrofuture. He's not Afrofuturist.
Then I turn on
He's
my
Afrofuture.
filtration pump.
Oh my goodness.
We can't catch nothing here, man.
No, except flyness. Okay, so I'm gonna stick to the questions.
Go for it.
And I will say this, everybody, on our website, you see that button down there that says learn more about these artists. When we're done, I will post the slideshow in its entirety so people can share, take a look at it. And we're so sorry that Janice wasn't able to continue with us. I don't know what happened. She's still trying to get back on, so hopefully something amazing will happen. But um, I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about, which is well, you know what? Let's look at the questions at the no, we'll ask these questions first. So one of the questions that we wanted to talk about is Compton's impact on your work, the two of you. And if it didn't have an impact, that's fine too. But we know in this case it did. And were you also, if you could talk about a little bit about Compton's impact on your work, and also, um, did you feel like you had a huge artist community here? Did you feel alone? You know, how do you see it? All these years in retrospect. And Charles, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, the there was a communicative arts academy. I migrated to Compton because I had bought property here. And then the studio, after that relationship broke up, the studio that exists over in Rosecrans ended up being where I settled as a bachelor, and then I got married there, and that's what you experienced. Um, so, but we were at the real developing point of artists in Compton, and that particular expression just kind of slowly evolved. How we were always waiting for someone within the politician uh, realm to support us, uh, but that really didn't happen like that. We had to be independently entrepreneurial and find places to survive. I personally always told whoever came in contact with me, didn't believe in a starving artist. I believe that whatever you say, you receive. And also, I always said that we should not look at our gifts because we can do things to make money as being commercial. There's a point of commercialism that you can get into, and when you get to that point. But the thing is that the starving artist thing was something that I disagreed with, and I told everyone that came in contact with me
Mhm.
about that. So, in regards to again the city of Compton helping us to do some things, I believe that they're in a better position. They just need to be educated to the fact that we do exist in their city and that we are able to bring to the city this other golden expression that has not been tapped into. Again, the Communicative Arts Academy was doing it, but there's no more Communicative Arts Academy. I think my studio is the last vestige of
Mhm.
of that particular expression. And so I'm looking and I'm praying that through grants and other support that we will find a way to enlarge what I've already constructed as I've been in my studio for 50 years.
Release.
in that location. So I'm not looking I'm not looking to hide anything from anyone. I'm looking to expand it. And so when I go, there will be when I transition, there'll be something left there
Hmm.
for other artists to pick up and other people to take it to another step. There's no need to just let it all go. Someone's going to do that, and I know that.
Hmm.
So, and you're the testimony that has proven that. So, I'm excited about the possibilities. But anyway, um, that's it.
Um, I just want to say, since you brought it up, Charles, that you know, when I met you, I remember we were at a meeting of county leadership, and and we were talking about this very thing, like, you know, what do we do, right? And I remember Charles saying, "I'm still waiting."
Exactly.
That's one of the first things I heard Charles say. But you know, Kaya, please, you know, when you talk about Compton's influence on your work, can you also like touch on as well, you know, the same thing, like how do we um, how do we um, participate in honing this city of ours
Mhm.
into or realizing this city of ours to be the art city that it has always been. Well, as long as we've been the past 50 plus years, it's
Hmm.
been an art city. How
Right.
do we, you know, hone it in that way? But, you know, we do want to hear about, you know, just briefly, just Compton's influence on your arc as an artist.
Well, one of my things is what I got from everybody when I was at CCA is that building an institution, building and maintaining an institution. That's the first thing I learned. I must have been about 15 or 6 or younger. But when I seen what everybody was doing as a collective, um, and making it happen, and also always on a shoestring budget. You know what I mean? Always on a shoestring budget. I realized that, and Charles can attest to this. That at one time they had this a train that would come through, and they had this exhibit of African American artists, and they would run the trains. Where I think the trains where they run now is where that um, sort of a rapid transit train runs through Compton.
Mhm.
But they had this train that used to come through the community with artists and artists like a gallery on these trains, right? So for me, I think the most important thing is to make Charles's space a historical landmark. That's the first thing we need to do. It needs to be a historical landmark. That's what the fight is. I mean, to me, that's my personal thing, right? It's
Wow,
a
thank you.
historical, yes, it's a historical landmark, and it needs to be treated. The building itself needs to be treated as a historical landmark and an institution, right?
Mm.
For
Wow.
not only African American artists, but creativity in the city of Compton and the history of creativity in Compton from day one.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
first thing
Amen.
that must happen.
Yes.
You know
Amen.
what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
Before anything else goes on, that
that's
must be
right.
a fight that needs to be fought now, not
Wow.
Yes.
not around the corner. That needs to be fought now. So for me, and when I come back to Compton, I would have no other artistic reference, right? I wouldn't have one because, see, like Charles was saying, CCAC is not here anymore. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I wouldn't have, and the only historical reference I have would be Charles is there now, but I would have Elliot Pickney's mural. I mean, I know where that
Right.
is on Rosecrans. I've been looking at that mural. I find it every time I come to Compton.
Mm.
Even though I've been trying to find Charles's studio for the last 30 years and I can never find it because they cut off they cut off the overpass.
The bridge.
When they did that, they freaked me out. I was like, damn. I mean, I come every summer, I never find it. I was like, so now I know where you
Oh
are. I'm
yeah.
gonna find you when I get to town, brother.
I'm next to French operator.
Yeah, I knew. I used to go all the way down to Boulevard Rosecrans. I didn't know where it was, um, but I think for me, um, that when I was first, introduced to everybody, when I was a young kid, and I remember John Otterbridge gave me a Gene Art book. I still have that same book.
Mm.
That's the first art book I ever got by Gene Art that somebody gave me and I owned, right? I didn't try to take it from the library. And so for me, it was like these people that I lived around in Compton were very prideful, and Compton was a different Compton when I was a kid. It was a different Compton to me, you know what I mean?
True.
And everybody there was so supportive. And then we had people like, I don't know David's last name, Charles. David, I forgot his name. The Latino brother, Dave. I mean, he used to always say life is a boat.
Oh, I know you're talking about. I can't
You know
think
what
of
I'm
his
talking
last name either. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
Dave, he always to tell me, he said, remember, life is a bowl of cherries. He's every time he see me, he say, life is a bowl of cherries. That's the
he had the
first
right
thing he
idea.
said. And that was something that he said, well, everything is always possible. You know what I mean? You just have to be, and that's what I try to tell, what I learned from everybody is that I'm not trying to be a star. It's not about star culture, right? It's about continuing to work and put your work out there in a spiritual way that everybody can connect with it, right? And that creates longevity for all of us.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And once we get distracted from the work, putting in the work, that's when we get lost.
Right.
So me as an artist, I'm always going to put the work. People say, you don't even have a show coming up. You're working like you got a show coming up. No, I come from people who work, that the life work is lifeblood, and that will propel you through life and to be successful in any way you want to, financially or whatever. That will propel you to do that. But you have to have faith to be able to stay and sustain the journey. You got to stay the journey, But we're going to make that happen with the historical landmark.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna make it happen.
I love it. I love it.
So I just want to say for my part and answering that question, I think, before I learned about the Academy and the history of the Academy, because I got here, I'm a little bit younger. I'm a lot younger than one person here. I'm a little bit younger than another person here. And so I missed out on the Academy. So I learned about the Academy, and our moderator, Janice, I met her poring over the archives of the Academy. So before I learned about the Academy, I would have said, the influence that Compton had on me as an artist was, we start now.
No.
Oh. Weird. Okay, sorry. The influence that Compton had on me was I remember walking home from school, and Compton looks much the same as it did 30 years ago. And it wasn't there was no evidence of the rich art culture that I saw. And my visual surroundings have always determined my mood, and so I was determined to come back and kind of build that for artists, but I didn't know about the Academy. So then learning about the Academy, and then learning about it, and then calling Kaya up and saying, hey Kaya, I didn't know about this Compton Communicative Arts Academy, hit me to this, right? And Kaya telling me about it, and around the same time meeting you. And then I realized, my God, I would have said that I came of age as an artist in Oakland, but I came of age as an artist in Oakland doing shows with Soul Salon 10, which was founded by a brother from Compton and a brother from Long Beach. So that culture of how we did things in a very, like guerrilla way, followed through and still influenced me. And so I bring that here with what I'm doing with Sepia Collective and Cake Cutter Institute. It's all one thing to me, and I see that, So I want to thank both of you for that.
Sure.
Okay, so we don't have much time, you guys. Well, we're supposed to end in 4 minutes, but please stick around for another. We actually have another an extra 30 minutes, and I do want to get some questions from the audience as well.
Mhm.
But these are specific questions for you guys. So, Charles, your work reaches higher and higher over the years.
Mm.
What is your work building towards?
Oh, wow. Well, I work in different genres. Right now, I'm working on like that's the most important thing. I'm trying to get the sisters body spirits done. I think that's important to Black women to identify with their beauty, and the goal for me is to for women when they look at what I produce to say that looks like me, and it's in a place of nobleness, and take that of a understanding that it's an important thing to be who you are naturally, um, and not fall into some of the cubby holes that some of our Black women have fell into, to be quote beautiful, because they're already beautiful. I found something like 15 different body forms originally. This changing now over a period of time, but that's one of my major goals. And then in public art, I'm just trying to be a conduit to the community. I'm working with Watts as well as outside the community, but Watts is one where Watts Towers Arts Center campus is where I can hone my crafts and also share that information with my artists in residence that's there. Rosie Lee Hooks, the director. But I try to do things to beautify and extend the creativity in that area so that we don't have to necessarily have someone come in and tell us what's beautiful. We create beauty, and then that beauty is something that the community um, uh, respects and is empowered by. So I could go on.
Okay, question for Kaya.
Mhm.
Kaya, well, actually, um, I think you've already spoken on how you were influenced by the Communicative Arts Academy.
Mhm.
But which Pinkney mural did you
Mm,
work on? I think you said you were 14 when you first
Oh, I think
were invited.
yeah, I might have been
Hmm?
younger than that. It was off of It was off of Avalon. That's all I remember. It's been so many years ago.
mm,
It was on the face of a wash house. That's why I do remember that.
mm.
It was on the face of a wash house, and my mother was sending me to the store to get some milk or something. I don't know where it was. And I never came back because I was painting the whole day. And I brought the milk back was spoiled, and I got chastised for that.
That's
Um,
man. That's you were called, brother. You were called. That's
yeah, and
wonderful.
she came. She said, "I don't believe you." So she walked down there, and Elliot Pickney introduced himself and said, "Yeah, he was helping me with the, you know." She
Right.
said, "Oh, he liked to paint. He liked to do something." I said, "Yeah, man, this guy was Elliot Pickney was great. I mean, he was
Oh
that
yeah.
influence was just so powerful." And
Yes.
my new series of work is influenced by this conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for this conversation to happen so I could tool which way I wanted to, create my next series.
Yeah.
And I want to probably do. I'm working on a series of praise houses in 3D
Mm.
stuff. Praise. So I'm gonna put Communicative Arts Academy as one of those praise houses as a series.
Wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah. So I can bring everybody back. We can get photographs and all this stuff and archive stuff
Yeah.
and a large installation, which may be a series of 4 or 5 pieces to bring everything back. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
so
That's
it can
great.
relive again. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the question for me
Hmm.
is you all have been part of productive city-based arts initiatives, especially in Black communities, between Compton Communicative Arts Academy. Oh, between the Compton Arts Academy and Soul Salon 10.
Hmm.
What do you think we need to do to secure the future of our city through art and secure art in our city. We kind of we spoke on that just a minute ago. What paths should we be creating? Okay, that question's for me. I'm sure.
There you go.
Uh,
There you go. You're ready now.
I'm bugging. Okay. And good night. Thank you. You know what? I think for me, it becomes a question of it often becomes a question of fairness. And so what we're doing here in Compton, what Sepia Collective is doing in Compton, is really pulling together people from all over the place. Every time I travel, I'm taken. I'm surprised, and I shouldn't be, but I'm surprised that no matter where I am in this world, people know about Compton. They know something about Compton, and we may not know anything about that particular place in the world here in Compton. We may not know, but our reach, our collective reach. And I know that people say, well, that's because of hip hop, and a lot of it is because of hip hop. But hip hop artists came from something in this city. Right. They came from something. They didn't just appear. There's a reason why so many hip hop artists come from. There's a music history here in Compton. Right. And hip hop is about so many things, not just music. You're not just a musician. It's fashion. It's art. It's all these things. And so it's only right that this city at some point should experience itself as an art city and all the trappings of an art city. Right. You go to other art cities, there's museums, there's galleries, right. There's art spaces, right. And and what does that mean? That means that people come to those places to exchange ideas. The city looks better on its face because the artists have opportunities to improve the way the city looks and participate in the way the city looks. Mm-hmm. We have a master maker and sculptor sitting right next to us, and we've all experienced having to leave this city in order to make a living, to be commissioned to do what we do, all those things. And so it's high time that Compton experienced and benefited from this fact of being a rich art city. Right. And that's what Sepia Collective is working on right now through Reading the City. And also we started a project called Cypher that we're really proud of. And Kaya participated in the first one with Surinamese artists from Amsterdam. And it's collaborative arts projects, multidisciplinary collaborative arts projects. And we'll continue to Compton's impact on arts and culture, but also seek out collaborations with others in order to, experience this in our city for our young people.
Sure.
Can I say something?
Yes.
One of my goals in Compton is to establish an institute to actually have, as Kaya said, to actually have a place of refuge where creativity can flourish from any age that exists. It's something that we need to tap into beyond the fact of just that everyone has a creative self. It's a healing factor in each of us.
Right.
And so the facilities that's necessary are facilities that really should be supplied by the working artists of our community. I'm looking to do that. I've been trying. I'm at a point now where I'm busting at the seams in my location. There's a location next to me that I'm looking to possess or buy. And this will enable me to branch out. It would actually make Compton, uh, it could make Compton an art city. We could do anything, anything. We would be known, because we didn't know as a hub city, but we would be known as
Mhm.
something like the Communicative Arts Academy again. It's a
Right.
rebirth time. This is a definite renaissance. And just to have this conversation is divine order to me because it's the next step for me. I don't see um, we're not just doing art for art's sake. We're doing art for to serve humanity. And so our culture, our humanity is all wrapped up in our expression um, of our divine. And we are definitely and once we understand that we are definitely conduits to this creative self, will enable us to share more and not say I got something special in my studio and you can't see it. I grew up with that.
Right.
And so that's why I tell
Yeah.
young
Yeah.
cats coming in, hey man, just go back there and find what you can do, you know? And so I want to make it bigger and more. Let's build something that's really beyond the Charles Dicksons and the Kayaks. Let's do something special for our planet because we all need to acknowledge we have a gift. And this is what brings joy and happiness. Too much sadness in this world right now. And we need to be able to tap into ourselves and understand that we are more than just flesh and blood, we're spirit. So,
Amen.
Right.
Um, I wanted to say, everybody watching, anybody feel like joining in, will in accessing that space for Charles to build into an institute, weigh in. We're listening. Please put your information in the chat so we can have Charles get in contact with you. And also, Charles, I didn't know what to put to reach you. So, is it okay to post your email?
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so we'll post Charles's email also at the end of this in the when you go on our website and read about each of us. We'll
Yeah.
post it on the website. Okay, let's go to a few questions from the audience. Did you want to say something, Kaya? Sorry.
Just quickly, my thing is that I know a lot of people in Compton who don't live in Compton, right?
Mm,
Who would support. So I have to reach out all over the country. I know I got people all over the country, so they would reach out and support. Most of them, people will support people if they know your history. That's basically what it is, right?
absolutely.
And so, yeah, that'll be my thing is to reach out for all the people all over the country who's doing things in other parts, and particularly in Chicago, New York,
Mm,
uh, everybody, all those people on what's that? Lion King. A lot of the choreographers, they're all from Compton, so we got lots of people everywhere. So I need to put that word out that we need to bring it back home. No matter where you are, you still from here, and we need to bring some of that energy and some of that other stuff. We need some of that lettuce back home. All right,
right.
I'm on that.
Okay.
right.
Um, I don't know if we can do this, but Adrian Divine, for Kaya, she said, can you talk about the symbols at the top of the image on the first slide, the
Mm,
image next to the Benji twins? But
uh,
I know we can't see it, so.
Yeah, the image on top of the slide, the Angie twins. Oh, okay, yes. So you have three images on the very top. And so one of the images on the top is the fern plant, which in the voodoo culture is related to fertility and life
mm,
and birth. Okay. The one in the very symbol center with the circle, and you have an arrow that's going on, which is the circle of life or the wheel of life I use a lot as a concept, and then the arrow is pulling out. So with the arrow itself is not symmetrical; it's asymmetrical, right? And so That's why I use the word like break beat, right? So it's not always coming off the center. You know what I mean? It comes off. So like improvisation, I use that line and that arrow, and that's associated with healing, that particular symbol. And the other one is the bell, and the bell is to summons the spirits. So even if you don't know that you are supposed to be doing a certain thing, the bell is representing to symbolize, to summons you to do the work we need to do as a collective people on the planet. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so those are three
Okay.
symbols.
Um, okay. Okay. This is for the two of you.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll answer as well. How do you know when a piece that you're working on is finished? That's from Lester Grant.
How do you from?
How do you know you're finished when you're
Oh,
working on any particular piece?
um. Well, usually you. Well, the question. Wow, that's a good question. But what happens with me is that I'm working to the point to where and it's usually a deadline in some cases. If there's no deadline and I'm working at a piece, I only work on it and to be happy, to be joyful. And so there's the piece may go on for 10, 15 years. And I'll just work it. I'll work on that particular piece just to feel joy. If I'm working at a show and I'm producing a piece to be in a show, then I'll work and I'll try to meditate and get as much as I can as possible, and I'll work up to the point where they come to pick it up. I gotta drop it off. then, then you
Yeah,
hand it off,
yeah.
and you can't do it no more.
It's done.
It's done.
So is that the story with I hope I'm saying this right, Bongo Congo?
Bongo Congo, mobilization of the spirit. That piece is about 35, almost 40 years old. And so
Wow.
it has evolved over a period of time. But it was initially inspired. I'm a tech guy. I'm a tech, I love tools. And if a tool inspires me to move a material a certain way, then it just gets me so excited. It's like when I first learned to carve wood, just to see the wood whittle away off of the surface got me very excited. I used to whittle in bed, and they took me to a psychiatrist when I was a kid. But but Bongo Congo is one that has evolved. Like at first, it has a fist coming out there that represents a spiritual force
Hmm.
protecting in his front, and then that fist ended up having holding an umbrella that represented the ancestral voices and spiritual bodies, and that this umbrella is very common with the fact that the umbrella, when you turn it, when it stops, it rotates the opposite way.
Mm.
I never planned on that happening, but it does it no matter where you put it. It will go one direction, stop, and then come back the other direction. And so it has these bottles and shards from various, well, the shards are acrylic chunks that fly off when chiseling, and they're like very explosive chunks of material. I take those materials because they're unique to the process, and I use them as spiritual vessels. And then also I use bottles that I have consumed the liquid and integrate those as because the spirit is clear, and put those into the umbrella as well. And so I use that theme throughout my work. And that anyway, Bongo Congo, and it's still evolving. There's a little subtle things that happen. It includes some of my his puff technology that I've developed over the years. And his puff is high impact styrene plastic urethane foam core. So that, by the way, is a African American invention. It took me 7.5 years to research and develop that technique, and that's when some of the critics were saying, Charles, you should give up your day job. but I was inspired to do something just because I like to play and move forms around, and I'm a mold maker as well. But the thing is, Bible Congo it reflects all that. Bible Congo has a root, it has a wheelchair, it has the Industrial Revolution in it. It has a um, mid. What am I trying to say?
Century.
No. I'm talking about middle passage is what I was trying to say. Has middle passage, but it also has all the elements that are part of our uh, cultural and spiritual growth. I actually had the shells on it, and I had a male and female. Um, they were just turning into their puberty years to put the shells onto the piece. So we got together and you do that and you do that. And they decorated. So to me, that was very, very important, very symbolic. And then all the shells were kept. I mean, the pieces were kept and put into another vessel that goes with the piece.
Mhm.
So it's one of those. It's one of those pieces that just never gets old. Every time I show it or put it into an exhibit, it's like brand new.
Wow. Um, let's see. This question is for me from C. Jackson. Is that Cassandra? Rosalind, how much does your growing up as a young Black woman influence your work, past or present? Which impacts your art more? I think she means, does the past or the present impact your art more? Today, with all going on in our world, how does or will impact your current or future projects? Love how you've evolved. Oh, thank you. So I think for me, because the work is autobiographical and it always has been, whatever I'm going through at the time is influencing my work at the time. Um, if you're saying has being a woman or being Black influenced my work more, I cannot separate them. I think that because my work really is an exploration of the inner workings and emotions of a Black woman. I think I could say womanhood, but I'll leave that for others to decide. Women of other cultures, maybe. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm just really responding and reflecting on what I'm feeling at the time and painting that. Um, Charles Dickson, Black is beautiful. Was this carved out of one piece of wood? Is it completely made of wood or is the tree another material?
Hmm.
From Adrian Devine.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, hi, Adrian. In any case, yeah, it's one log. It's an ironwood log that was gathered from the Mojave Desert, and I carved it. Yeah, there's no attitude to it. It's one piece, and at the time I'm developing various techniques of trying to cut into the material. Actually, not just with wood chisels, but drills and everything else. I'm exploring whatever it takes to express whatever idea I wanted to project into the material. And it's it's a wonderful material to carve because it is so hard. It's the density is very close to a lignin vitae. And it's technical, but it's like all lignin vitae is almost like a plastic.
This one is for Kaya and for you, Charles. Who are some of the women who were active in the Arts Academy?
Hmm.
Charles could probably answer that more than I can. I was really young.
Yeah. Um, gosh. One person names I'm tripping. Um,
Wadi?
yeah, Ruth Waddy was one person.
Yeah.
She was there. There were a lot of artists, females that came through. Uh, I'm trying to think of, we were held together by a wonderful administrative staff, and they were kind of the backbone of the operation. I was the go-to guy, to get various things, um, materials and things like that, which is another story. But gosh, I'm trying to think. Um, I'm just trying to. I don't like. I can't come up with names at the point.
This would be a good moment for Janice to weigh in. She's not having it's a sister in the dance. Well,
Well,
I'm,
God, there were. I'm trying to think of. There was Lewis,
Samela
Alicia.
Lewis. Samela Lewis.
Yeah, well, Samantha Lewis. Yeah, Samantha Lewis was there.
Come
Absolutely.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, Margaret Anderson was a major contributor. There was another. There's another woman there that was kind of the lieutenant of all of us, um, and she pretty much kept us on point. I wish I could remember names better. I apologize for that. But Merle Knowles, that was her name. Merle Knowles, and she was a force to be reckoned to reckon with. She was really Justin Powell and John Outerbridge and all the males
mhm,
asked her what we should we how should we go about doing it. She would make her opinion,
mhm.
and we would go like, it sounds good. She was really a force. I'm trying to think of some other people, but
Well,
even Betty Starr was part of coming through the Communicative Arts
oh,
Academy.
really?
Yeah, because people like John Aldridge was there. John drew a lot of creative entities into the Communicative Arts Academy, along with Justin Powell.
Right.
Mhm,
Um, Again, I was like, you're talking about I look at that period as being my whittling period,
mhm,
where I was into chiseling and cutting wood and grinding wood and stuff like that. And so as and they would send people over. They said go to Dixon's studio or go to the studio over in Rosecrans, and Charles would help you. So we were doing stuff, you know. Um, we were I don't know. We were just doing things that were meaningful to the whole, but I was kind of isolated to a certain extent because I wasn't at the big building. I was at a smaller structure, and we were sharing that structure with Head Start as well. So
mhm.
yeah, but I don't know a lot of names. I'm sorry.
Arvis?
Oh,
Arvis one?
Arvis was a dancer. That's interesting. You got to know. Okay, that's good. Arvis was one of the dancers that was in the dance company, and Willie Ford ended up marrying her, and so Willie Ford was a photographer as well. But Arvis was a very fine dancer and just exciting person to be around.
Yeah.
Willie Ford, by the way, I'm mentioning that we talking about the women, but Willie Ford was the guy who shot the socks on the O.J. Simpson case.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, fun fact, like, uh, that's not fun fact. But fun fact, Janice and I met pouring over the archives that he shot for the Arts Academy.
Right.
Yeah, that's how we met. Remember, I was coming to you with
Right.
pictures and
Right.
asking, "What's this? What's this?"
He shot those
Um,
speak too.
yeah, and it was Arvis who gave us permission to use the photos with some of the projects that we were doing moving forward. So
Wow.
blessings to her and thanks to her as
Thanks for
well.
bringing that up. Yeah, she
Yeah.
yeah, she was a vibrant young lady with a big natural.
Hey, I'm a young person. Well, I mean, I'm so very grateful for everyone who came and watched us this evening. Thank you so much for your support. Um, Thank you, Charles, for making the time to be here with us. And thank you, Kaya, so much for making the time to be here with us. We have more things to do. We're dedicated to the ensuing struggle and the joys that it holds. I'm glad we're here on the path together. Janice, thank you for moderating until um, Crowdcast had a fit. I don't know what happened, but um, everybody, please, know that this event will be recorded and loaded. And because you have the link and you've come on, even if for 5 minutes, you can come back and watch it anytime. And that link, that button there that says "Learn more about our artists." In a couple days, we'll upload the slideshow. I'll put a little bit more information on it. Um, oh, thank you, Adrian. It was good, regardless of technical difficulties. Thank you for saying that. But we're grateful to you, and we're going to continue to do all that we can to let people know about what's happening here with the arts in South LA and Compton. It's a lot. It's a lot.
So,
Okay. All right. Anything, anybody you would like, Kaya, you want to say anything, brother? Or
Well, I just want to say thank you, Rosalind, for organizing this and making this happen. I've been looking forward to seeing Charles and talking to Charles for like the last almost 40 years. So it finally happened. Almost 40
right, my
years. So
brother.
and you know what, Charles, is funny.
It's a
When you were doing those body molds of people, you
body
did a friend,
cast, right,
your body
right.
cast. You did a friend of mine. Uh, I guess it was 40 years ago almost, and she's a neighbor of mine. So Linda Johnson. I don't know if you remember her or not. She was a dancer.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
I
my
got that body. You know what? I'm still debating how I'm going to finally present that. It's
right.
going to be presented because the body casts I'll never sell. They were
Right,
documentations of references and
right.
to work from in a collaboration. And so I'm going to reproduce some of those forms in life-size wood sculptures.
Oh, nice.
wow.
So I finally got the recipe for it. So that's wonderful. I'm glad you. But I'll tell you, man, I really am excited with the fact of what you're doing with your work, your inspiration, where you say we inspired you. Oh my God, I'm glad God has touched you in such a way where you have taken the ball and ran with it. It's heartfelt here.
Yeah, same here, man.
And
Thank you
I
guys.
I wanted to thank also um, Janice and Roz for inviting me. I was divinely late, so so I can hear you speak. And I'm like I say, it's always wonderful to experience what God can do with us.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
All
And I'll come
right.
see you soon.
As
When I come to
usual,
Compton,
it's
I'm coming to find you, Charles.
Brother, just stay to the north of the bridge. That's all.
All right,
we're gonna
cool.
come yell up at the window.
All right.
All right.
Totally welcome.
All
Love
right.
you, Kaya.
Love you
Love you,
too.
brother.
Love you too, Brother
And
Charles.
thank you,
Bless, bless.
everybody. We'll be back for the next one. Thank you, everybody, for joining in.
All right.
Good
See y'all later. Bless.
night, everybody.
Good night. All right.